Hello everyone, this is Duan. In this video, I would like to talk about the new Redux pattern with Immer. So I've been using this new pattern for a while now and I really like it. In this video, I would like to share it and how it is done, what are the core concepts. So let's get started. So let's begin by talking about what is Redux. Redux is a predictable state container. So basically, it is a very useful tool for managing state in your application. For smaller application though, you probably don't want to use Redux because it does come with a bit of overhead but for large applications, you definitely want to have some sort of state management in your application so that as the application grows, it doesn't become a bother to maintain the state management. So the Redux comes with several concepts. The first concept is what's called a store. The store is basically a place that stores the application state. It manages all the state in your application altogether. And we also have the actions. The actions describes what your app does to change the state. An example of action could be sign in to your application. An action could be called a sign in action. And next we have reducer. Reducer is basically a function that determines how the state is going to be changed depending on what action it receives. For example, when a user logging, we want to have the user information being stored in our state. When user log out, we want to clear the user data from our application. And those are the three main things that we need to set up for Redux. But there's also one other thing. It's called a dispatch. The dispatch is an interaction that Redux uses to send actions to your reducer. So whenever you want to make changes to your state, you would need to dispatch the actions to the reducer using the dispatch function, and it will deliver those actions to the reducer, and the reducer is going to manage how the state is going to be changed. So Redux comes with a lot of benefits, but it also has its own set of problems. So one of the major problems it has is when doing a nested update. Redux has this concept for immutability, and immutability is very essential for the state update that's happening in Redux. Immutability is beneficial for tracking state changes, what is being changed in your object. So as your application grows, you want to have as much immutability as possible because whenever an error occurs, you not only want to know what is causing the error, you also want to know what changes that you made to make those errors occur. So immutability helps in determining what are the changes you made that could cause those problems, but it does require a complete duplication of object at all levels. So whenever you have a nested object to update, it becomes really complex really quickly. So on the right, we have example reducer that handles a nested update. As you can see, it's trying to copy the state at all levels, at first level, at second level, and onward. As you can imagine, when you have a really nested object, this update function becomes really hard to read and it's hard to maintain as well. The Redux library have a new solution to solve this problem, and it is called Immer. So Immer is another library that simplifies the handling of immutable data structures using mutations. The reason why it has the power to do this is because of what's called a draft state. The Immer uses a draft state in between the current copy to the next copy to make sure that whatever mutations you made to the draft copy is being transformed into immutable changes in the next copy. At the bottom, you can see the procedure in which the Immer helps you make immutable changes. So first, you create a draft copy of your current copy, and then you can make direct mutations to the draft. The Immer is going to compare the draft and the initial data we have and see what mutation you have made to the draft and transforming those to immutable changes in the next copy. This makes the nested update much more easier to make, and also it makes your code much more maintainable and easier to read as well. With the power of Immer incorporated into the Redux team introduces a new library called the Redux Toolkit that helps simplify the way you configure Redux in your application. So it uses Immer by default. What different we have for this pattern compared to before is that we used to write reducers, actions separately, and we also configure our store separately. And that's a lot of configuration we need to set up before we start working with Redux. But now with the Create Slice API, we can combine the reducers and actions together, and the Create Slice is configured using the Immer, so you can use immutable changes in your actions to make immutable changes. And after you configure the reducers and the actions, you can directly combine the slices of the state you have created in your Redux store. This is similar to how you combined reducers before. The way you dispatch actions is the same as before, except that in the Create Slice API, you simply have to destructure the actions from the slice that you've created and export it to other part of your application. So whenever you want to make changes, you can dispatch those actions to your reducers. So on the right, we have an example of using Create Slice API to create the reducers and the actions together. And in this example, you can see the to-do added action is using Immer pattern to directly mutate the state and transforming the mutations into immutable changes. In this API, you can still use the immutable changes as well. So for the to-do deleted, you can see that a new state is being copied using the state.filter method. Both of those patterns still works. You can make choices when updating different things. So for example, if you're updating a nested object, you probably want to use the mutable changes, and for others, you might want to simply just use the immutable changes. Okay, so that's all you need to know about the concept when using this Redux pattern. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video and would like to see more related content, be sure to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment below. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.